Hello, I'm Geraldine Glass, and welcome to our panel for the Sacred Science of Sound. I'm delighted to have Matt Kahn with us, Dr. Sue Morter, and Barry Goldstein, and we will explore in more depth and have a conversation about the sacred science of sound. So welcome.
Thank you, Jer.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yes.
Awesome. So I would like to start with a little sound of the heart. This is an emerald bowl, since so much of our conversation has been around heart presence and the vibrational frequency of love. Breathing and feeling that tone of emerald, stone of the heart. And I'd love to ask Dr. Sue to moderate the panel today. Dr. Sue has been instrumental in all that's unfolded for me since the passing of my son 3.5 years ago, and has been my inspiration and mentor. And so, Dr. Sue?
Beautiful. My pleasure. You know, Geraldine, you have done a beautiful thing here, pulling all of these amazing people together and bringing their beautiful conversations together on this series. It has been a delight, even just hearing about all the people that were being collected for this great purpose. And each of us have been out teaching and gathering and working with people and sharing the amazing information that is available to us about healing and about wholeness and about sound, vibration, and frequency, about love and about light. And as we bring all of those conversations together, and then again in a concentrated fashion like this with this panel, it is qualifying to an energy in such a way that the viewers have this opportunity to drop in to the intermingling of different teachings, the different approaches, different concepts all coming together in symphony. And that's the point, because life is a symphony. We're constantly orchestrating our lives through a variety of different energy frequencies, the energy frequencies of our relationships and the energy frequencies of our jobs, our vocations and service in the world, the energy frequencies of our family dynamics that we were birthed into, or our family of choice that we then grow into. We're always navigating a variety of different energies. And the ultimate goal of this series, I know, Geraldine, has been to tie all of them together so that all of the components of our lives creates a beautiful song, a beautiful sound vibration. Interestingly, the vibrational frequencies that happen within our own hearts and minds are the very most important. What quantum science is showing us is that there is only one of us here, and that it is you. And, you know, the first time that I heard that idea that there's only one of us here, I got a little freaked out because I felt like I was here. And I started asking the people to the left and the people to the right, do you feel like you're here? Do you feel like you're here? I feel like I'm here. Which one of us is it? Because our brains are trained to identify things as separate contextually. The mind's job is to make distinctions and find the differences in things. And what I know that we get to do with this panel coming together is that we get to find the commonalities and find common ground, the sound vibrational frequency that ties it all together. Ultimately, there is only light. And when you start compressing light, it creates a sound vibration. And the most profound vibration that it generates is the very first vibration. And that is the vibrational frequency that we call love. And so we are gathered here with the ability to find 1,008 different ways to love. And I'm blessed and so excited about what we get to do with this panel together today to find additional ways to land this. And Geraldine, you are a walking, talking example of what love can do. You have brought people from all corners of the earth together for this amazing panel, and all because your heart was broken. Your heart was broken, and as your son made his transition, you went deeply inward. And it's that deep inward space that we have to visit at some point in our lives if we ever want to know the truth of who we are. And what you have risen up as out of that space is so beautiful. Thank you for the amazing interviews that you have done with all these experts and the tying together of it through the vibrational frequency of love that you are. You are an amazing presence on the planet. And it's been my great joy to help you steward finding how to translate your great gift of being an opera extraordinaire around the world to drop into yourself and feel that you had no voice left in your deep grief. And then to find a different expression, a new expression of bringing that voice back in a different context. And I feel that our guests today as well, Matt and Barry, are also doing such an amazing job of this, that we are bringing our gifts forward in service. And perhaps it's showing up differently than life started out. Perhaps it's showing up in a new way. But there's a new song that is needed for humanity. And we are here playing that song together today. As humanity is ready to unify all the components within themselves, their heart, their mind, their gut, their soul, and their personality, their body, their mind, their breath, all of it has to synchronize and become one beautiful frequency together. And so I look forward to digging in and hearing from the beautiful souls on this panel together, what we can come up with today to just help people land, how to apply everything that they're hearing in these interviews and how to change their lives in the most profound and deeply integrated ways. So thank you, Geraldine, for pulling us together. And thank you, Barry, and thank you, Matt, for showing up to this beautiful dance together. So Barry, we've known each other for a while. And it's always been a great delight to see you do your thing. And Matt, we're just kind of meeting in this space, in this sacred space of this sacred science and sound. And it is a delight to meet you. I know that you're having such a beautiful impact on so many on the planet. And so let's all just take a deep breath in. And everyone that's watching, if you might just take a deep breath in with us and allow the light and the wholeness of your being to just settle in and be available for this amazing cosmic and transcendental multidimensional experience to land in our lives in great, great relevance. Deep breath in and just exhale. So I'd like to pose a question to anyone, on the panel here. What is it that you find stirs your heart the most when it's time to just engage with something that you had no plan for, that you had no way of knowing that life was going to hand you this particular circumstance in any given moment? What is your favorite way, your come from or your go-to that allows you to experience this amazing cosmic symphony that's constantly playing? When life hands you something that you're unprepared for, because our lives like to think that they have a plan, for the person who thinks that they're following their plan and something unplanned occurs, what do you recommend? Anyone?
Well, I could say that the first immediate place that I always go is my breath. And that whenever anything happens in my life, expected or unforeseen, what I often do is I breathe circumstances into me. It's as if I breathe circumstances into me because my instinct is to get as close as possible to what is arising, because my focus and my intention is always to create an intimate relationship with whatever is happening. So I always want to get as close as possible so I can be united and one with what I'm experiencing, and then derive the benefit of what's happening, even when it's something that's unpopular, unforeseen, and unexpected. In my personal life, I've had an entire year of going through some of the most unexpected, unforeseen things I've ever had to deal with. And it was in that instinct where I got to see what really is operating this being. And when something happens, whether it's desired or surprising. I breathe that into myself so to receive it as a gift. And I think for people who are watching this, there are two ways we can look at life. There's what something is and how we perceive it to be. And I think when we breathe in something as a gift, we are telling the universe that I recognize that this is something that's going to help me. It is something that's going to bring me benefit, even if it seems unpopular or unfortunate in its packaging. But if I can receive it as a gift from that breath, then only the perception of gifts can come my way.
Mm. So
I mean,
beautiful. Yeah, go ahead.
that is what we talked about too, Matt, in our conversation, that at the beginning, when someone experiences something like, let's say, a diagnosis of cancer or a death, totally unexpected, if we can learn to go to that place of being anchored and breath in the body, it changes everything.
Yes.
I didn't have those skills at that time until I began working with Dr. Sue and really learning how does one integrate in those moments where you just want to, yeah.
Absolutely.
Embodiment is the key, right? If we're vibrating inside our own hearts and in our own bodies, not just lovingly, but truly in a felt, visceral sense that we are present with something, then the body helps us to filter and to translate the energies into a usable format that is not so scary. It's not so overwhelming. Just coming into our hearts and breathing in the belly in a deep, visceral way. It brings this whole intimacy and then a capacity that we didn't know that we had until we do.
Yeah. What you're talking about, I call it our inner symphony, really, and what Matt's talking about, the breath is one of those inner musics that we have that are constantly going on. So for me, the breath is very important as well. And I like to put my hands on my heart and close my eyes. In the process of that, so feel that coming home to the heart is not just a metaphor or an analogy, but really it's the truth for me that we're all coming home to our hearts. We all have our own unique vibration that is in our heart. So it's deciphering what is our truth within those circumstances. And when we talk about having a more heart-centered life, it really requires that we have a conversation with our hearts. And in order to do that, it's just like any other conversation. It's about speaking and it's about listening. It's a communication. So when we close our eyes and we place our hands on our hearts, we're listening and we're tapping into our own unique vibration to see if what's going on resonates with us, or what we can turn that into if it resonates with us, and even doing that. And then we get the ability to talk to our heart back and ask what it wants us to know about a specific situation or a specific energy that's coming in. And that really allows us to tap into this inner orchestra. And, sometimes it's turning lemon into lemonade. And sometimes it's not drinking the lemonade at all. It really depends on what our heart's telling us. So it's about that relationship with our heart and listening to the sounds within ourselves. This whole orchestra that God has given us within our bodies is constantly giving us clues to how we should move forward. And it's up to us to listen to it in a different way. The heart has a different intellect than the mind does.
And Barry, I think also to add our own sound. So when you locate, where am I feeling that grief? Where am I feeling that pain? Where am I feeling the sadness? When you can locate that in the body and allow that to sound, then when we use the power of our own voices. So coming from the field of music as a singer, to use my own voice in a way that's very balancing to my own body is phenomenal. And everybody can hum. Everybody can put their lips together and make a tone.
I love that. And, just touching back on the breath, which of course facilitates the sound, is so beautifully connected, in our field and in all the beings who are watching this video, who are dealing with things that they have to accept that may not be acceptable to them. There might be a healing journey that involves forgiveness or the ability to become more present with things than they were before. And we have a lot of people in this field who try to be present by basically sitting and saying, I should be more present. They try to forgive by saying, I should forgive more often, or I accept by saying, I should accept, or how do I accept what I can't? And I think if we kind of distill it all into, just as life begins with the breath, acceptance is taking a breath in a moment we can't accept. Presence is taking a breath in a moment that we feel fragmented in. Perhaps forgiveness is the ability to take a breath in the presence of what is unforgivable. So whatever spiritual practice we talk about and whatever aspect we talk about to allow the healing to open up the sound of the soul to be heard for all those that are watching us, it's amazing when we can all distill it down to, it all begins with the breath, because I think it's very difficult when we think about how to be present, how to forgive, how to do these things. And if step number one of all of these positive modalities begins with the breath, that's where we begin our journey of embodiment and alignment.
That's beautiful. And one of the things that I find is also helpful with utilizing the breath to transcend a particular circumstance that the mind is locked in, and to ask the heart what is necessary here, what is really true, what is really wanted and needed in this moment. To remember that the mind takes its instruction from the heart, energetically, vibrationally, and the heart receives information from the earth, and the earth receives information from the sun, and the sun from cosmic forces beyond that. And ultimately, it's all coming through us as a channel, and we're here to accept our full role as the channel itself, not isolate our identity as just the mind that is struggling. So Barry, when you're talking about asking the heart, and Matt, you're speaking about the breath, I love these combinations of things as well, because if what I do is I use that technique to ask the heart, and then use the breath to come into the heart and actually become the love vibration itself. Because if I'm breathing from a loving space, the acceptance and the embrace, it starts to happen automatically. There starts to become a connective factor that is enhanced and births itself right in the face of whatever the circumstance is. So we live in a culture that is identified as the mind. And ultimately, if we can be the breath, what happens is we start to identify as something that is fluid and available and healing and integrative. And we start to look at life just so differently, simply because we're not tying ourselves to the mind, who's always looking for the differences and the way things should be, and having a judgment, and then needing to forgive the judgments that we have put into place. And all of it is so important that we learn to work with simultaneously, all of it, that we utilize these tools that everyone is speaking about here in a symphonic kind of way, that one leads to another, and then the strings come in, and then the horns start to play, and all of it begins to cultivate into a better life experience. And that is, of course, what we want for everyone on this series, to walk away from this experience having been awakened and supercharged in a way that activates a different version of who they are, rather than just finding better coping skills, right? We want people to awaken to the fullness of their being. And when awake at that level, life becomes in support to our recognizing our magnificence, rather than feeling like something that we have to defend ourselves against and protect. So thank you all for such beautiful contribution to this simple question of what do we do when life hands us something that is unexpected? How do we manage that? How do we awaken to some higher version of the whole scenario so that it serves something, rather than just eliciting the need for survival in us, right? So So I want to pose another question into the mix that will just kind of help us blend all these ideas together. And that is, if someone was engaging with you and wanting to know how to find their purpose, you know, a lot of people struggle with how to find their focal point. How am I to deliver my gifts? We have a lot of empaths that come into this type of work, that have an inquiry about what do we do with our sensitivities in the world? How do we maintain an open heart and allow the love to be exchanged that we each know is so valuable and that we yearn for? And when we open our hearts, we have a tendency to feel such overwhelm with all of life that is coming at us. And in a conversation of relevancy, you know, how do we bring the empath forward so that they remain open to the amazing energies that they have access to, and still can be functional and focused and highly capable in a world that in our current times seems to be so challenged. It seems that in every corner something is rising up that is representing friction and unrest and a birthing of something. And we of course know that it is a birthing of our consciousness that is truly happening here. But as it comes to the daily life, you know, one foot in front of the other, how do we engage the empath in their power without shutting down their gifts, without having to turn it down or shove it in the background in order to function and to get by and to prevail? How do we encourage our listeners, our viewers, to stay the course in a both and kind of way that allows a deep acceptance of acceptance of who we are as magnificent beings, and pierce into the density of this physical world as it presents? Anyone?
Well, I can jump in and just, obviously resonating with the empath. I've been an empath since I got here, but I've been aware of it most of my life and piecing it together as this empathic mystery. When I wrote Whatever Arises, Love That, what I had discovered was that the noise of the mind, or the information of the mind, whether judgments, patterns, or fear, was actually giving information from the memories encoded in the cellular body. And that we as empaths, our job was to heal our cellular body, which is reflective of the lineages in our family that we chose to incarnate into, to clear as a way of clearing out the karmic patterns of the past and being able to anchor a new vibration of consciousness that allows us to move forward individually and collectively in a new paradigm of heart-centered consciousness. And the solution to being able to do that, what I have taught for many years, is to be able to love yourself as an active, engaging practice where you find your life purpose instead of it being an occupation, or of course, as we all know, not making it a spiritual occupation necessarily, but the primary life purpose is when we wake up out of ego, is we realize I am not this character, I am the caretaker of this body. And so as empaths, when we wake up to being the caretakers of our bodies, we realize that the mind is giving us information of what is arising to be released out of the cellular body. The emotional body is the visceral imprinting of what is being stirred up by all the beautiful things in our lives, whose job is to only bring up what needs to arise to be healed. And when something is coming up to be healed, as I like to say, whatever we're feeling is a healing taking place. Whatever we're hearing, we are clearing for humanity. So if we can learn to love ourselves in response to what arises, we clear out our cellular body. We wind up becoming even more activated and expanded empaths. In my personal life, what I found to be a very interesting path is I became who I am because I realized I was sensitive. And I found for me that the calling was to be more sensitive. And so for me, the path was I became more sensitive than my mind could attempt to manage and control and micromanage and hold together. And something explosive happened in my reality where who I thought I was literally one day oozed out of my ears, and like just like a pool of liquid pouring out of my ears, and everything I knew about my life just vanished, and knowing myself as spirit or a soul in the body emerged as a new reality. And even from that shift of perception, it didn't mean I didn't have things in my body to clear for those lineages I talked about. It just made it more clear that as the caretaker of the body, I'm here to love and nurture this one the way he's never been loved and nurtured. And as a result, I'm clearing out lineages and lineages that came before me so that I can create a brand new bloodline, a brand new paradigm for humanity. And as all of us light workers learn to do this, to empty our cellular body, to activate our powers as empathic beings, we are the way showers who are literally carving a brand new path and creating a brand new earth that anchors and embodies heart-centered consciousness instead of perpetuating a culture that shuns and denies it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. That was beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Matt, I'm shocked we haven't met before.
I know, right? Well,
Finish each other's sentences. This is so beautiful. Yes,
Thank
it's
you.
really a delight. It's
Thank
such
you.
a wonderful thing to share this with everyone, and to share this with the four of us together like this. Barry, you were getting ready to speak. Sorry, my friend.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, for me, most of the decisions that I've ever had to make and that are regarding to life purpose, they usually don't come out of a place where we're in fear or we're in a contracted state. So it's about moving to a more awakened state where we can actually tap more into the energy of what we're here to do, because I believe it's already here and it's already in our hearts. Sometimes it's just a reprogramming of our belief systems or tapping into what is there. So music and sound and vibration, when we look at those as sound tools as opposed to just art and entertainment, we start looking at them as tools for awakening. And we utilize those as a bridge. So if I'm in this space now and I want to get to this space where it's a space of knowing, what piece of music or what vibrational piece of sound healing can I use that will take me there? And it doesn't necessarily just have to be a new age music or, it doesn't have to be classical music. It could be songs that uplift you. I love listening to like Earth, Wind and Fire, and things that I loved as a child because it puts me in a more joyous state. And when I'm in that joyous state and that more awakened state, I can tap into my heart. So we've all had these aha moments when we've read something in a book and our lives have changed like instantaneously. But we can also do that with music. And it happens in a 3 to 4 minute song when we have these aha moments and we can awaken the heart and realize that they don't have to be random experiences, that we can be the DJs of our own lives. We can create playlists to tap into what will lead us to our heart's purpose and start really programming ourselves on a daily basis to be in higher states of expansiveness and joy, utilizing music as a tool for that.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Dr. Sue, I think for me, I am passionate about teaching and guiding people to find their authentic voice. So I have many students of all ages that not necessarily are wanting to learn to be a professional singer, but to connect with that part of them that is their soulful self, their authentic being, their authentic voice. And that process happens, and many of the people are very empathetic. They're very, very, very sensitive. And so there's wounds and there's things that have to be lined up again. And we do that I do it through building their voice. So through breath, through specific exercises that help to anchor the breath really in their body so that singing becomes a deeply physical sensation. And as that happens and they begin to line up and anchor and expand at the same time, something very magical happens and they find their authentic voice, their authentic expression. It doesn't matter if I have an 8-year-old child in the studio or if I have a 75-year-old woman that wants to sing or find their authentic voice. And that process is it's so fulfilling for both people. So it has to do, of course, my language is music and sound. And for me, it's coming from that, from using our own personal sound vibration to align our systems and come in contact with our deep soulful self.
That is so important. I mean, I think so many of us have been told at one point in our lives that, you know, we don't sing, or, you know, your voice doesn't matter. And so for people to be able to reconnect with that and know that it doesn't always have to sound great either, you know, that we're all human, but it's a form of expression, you know, that they're here to re-embrace. And I think that's very, very important. I see it more and more in people where we've been told at some point in our lives, you know, we've been quieted. And now is the time really to share our voices. All our voices mean something and are important.
And often you have an inkling of what sound and what potentiality is in somebody through their voice, but it reveals itself. And the more that we can open, as Dr. Sue is teaching, the central channel and anchor oneself in that, the more I'm going to just call it the miracle or the marvelous, the magnificent is revealed.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
you know, just to touch upon what Barry just said, you know, in terms of finding your authentic voice, and we're all kind of touching upon it, you know, sometimes not just being told, don't sing, or you're being too loud, or you're too much for me, which is often the messages a lot of empaths get, like when they go to share their feelings with a parent who can't deal with it, this is too much. But how many also of us have experienced when our parents have been the most passionate, it's been in a form of discipline or disapproval. And so it sends us the subconscious message that being in power leads to the detriment of others. And so then we kind of suppress our authentic voice because we're afraid of stepping into our power, because we're really afraid we're going to hurt someone. And what we're here to actually awaken and realize is that we actually only hurt ourselves by denying that power. And by stepping into our power, we're not going to hurt anyone. We're actually going to help support the healing and salvation of an entire planet.
And we don't draw the greatness out of others if we withhold.
100%.
You know, how many of us have seen someone demonstrate, you know, the magnificence, and it gives us permission to do the same. Or
Right.
if we can passionately draw something forward that's been suppressed in someone, it will change the tribe. You know, tribal code was that you could not withhold your medicine because it compromised the tribe. If you didn't bring your gift forward, then the tribe was less because of that. And so when in the days where the indigenous peoples were dependent upon everyone in the circle showing up in their fullness in order for the continuation of their existence, then the code of honor was, you know, let's reveal, let it be out, let's be celebrated in every sense. And Geraldine, I noticed that when people say that they can't sing, it oftentimes correlates to different aspects of their consciousness, in particular in the body, being not activated. Either it's been shut down, or perhaps it was never cultivated. It was just never tapped in the first place. And so the level of consciousness that correlates to different energy centers in the body and the chakra system, which we're aware of, is just these areas are not active and alive. And when you are giving them permission to drop in and to embrace, and it's this thing that Matt and Barry are both speaking about as well, that we become intimately engaged with the mind and the body and the breath simultaneously, and it unlocks this combination that is essential for the soul to rise. A vibrational frequency is created where cells begin to activate in ways and vibrate in frequencies that they were not doing before. And all of a sudden, someone who could never sing notices that some pretty nice sounds can come out of them as a result of them just loving into places that they didn't even know they weren't. You know, it's really a fascinating thing.
it's just stuff. I always say it's just stuff that's in there. So let's bring the stuff and reveal it in the light, and then take the question mark off your back. Give yourself permission and let's see where it goes. But people can be very afraid of, oh my gosh, you know, that sound might just be, might be horrible. But if you take the question mark off your back and let it, we explore it, then one can refine it if we're talking about singing per se, or otherwise it becomes authentic and it's rooted, and there's such fulfillment in the soul of the person as they experience that kind of self-expression that's free.
Yes.
Right. I was going to say that when you're doing that type of work and you're using your voice to free something that's been held in your body, you know, it doesn't have to be pretty, you know, and the listener should know that, you know, because if you're holding something that's been rooted there for a while, it might be an unpleasant sound that's going to free that, you know, and that unpleasant sound ends up being a beautiful sound because it's the sound that set it free.
Yes.
You know, when you're doing that kind of work, and you know, people are so conscious of what singing and sound is supposed to be, you know, and when we can move past that and say, no, this isn't, you know, again, music for art and entertainment. This is music for a healing process.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard some in healing sessions that I've done with people, some really guttural sounds come out, you know, or of sounds that when people are really want to set that free and they're putting their intent on releasing that it's going to come up, and whatever sound is going to resonate with that energy that they're releasing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all good. You know, I've done work where I had work done in my mouth, and I had dental work done, and I was in quite a bit of pain. And, you know, I was taking ibuprofen and all this stuff. And I said, oh my God, it's like, now it's time to step into what I know. And I started singing to my mouth and using specific sounds and searching for that. Where in my mouth is the pain? What sound is going to resonate to free that? And really, it was that stopped the pain. It wasn't the, you know, pharmaceutical drugs and the aspirins and everything else. So it let me know that I was experiencing something way more than just what was going on with the dental procedure. You know, it was about voicing. It was about knowing that I was heard and appreciated. And as I started chanting and using these sounds to move through it, I knew it was an emotional healing that was happening and not a physical one. So once you start that ball rolling and you start using that sound, that's what you can uncover, is more than that physical healing, that emotional and spiritual healing that goes with it.
We are energy beings, and our energy is designed to be in motion. And if it gets locked up, there is a compromise at the physical level, and the physical body will pocket in areas of excess energy, and there is pain. There'll be areas of deficient energy where there is weakness. And when we start toning or chanting, such as the ancient Vedic traditions were chanting, it wasn't about singing and having it be pretty. It was about, can you get an area of your body to vibrate? And when it's vibrating, there's a certain kind of sound that's going to come out of you. And healing is a byproduct of that. It's not that we're trying to heal, it's that we're activating wholeness through that sound frequency. And so this is exactly what you're speaking about, that we move the energy when we move the sound through our own breath and through allowing that sound to be revealed. We're moving, we're unpacking the system that's compressed energy that gets further compressed when we withhold things, or we have grudges, or we have unresolved emotional circumstances or short-circuitings that have occurred. All of this stops the energy flow. And as you're saying, Barry, you just started singing to your pain. You started singing, you moved in with movement, and that vibrational frequency sets the whole system into flow again and allows the body to self-heal, which it's designed to do constantly. We just have to get the energy in motion again.
What I realized in that instance, Dr. Sue, was that my conception of music was that music is something that happens externally to us, right? When actually we are music.
We are music.
It just doesn't happen externally, but there's this whole internal music that's going on. And yeah, when you can appreciate that internal music that's going on, you can have an even deeper appreciation for that music that we know as being external. But really, we are the music.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just something that happens to us, it's something that happens in us. And
Yes.
that was the big aha, you know, for me.
Barry, when I'm working like really physically with someone and helping them to ground their breath, and we work with the transverse abdominis muscles, and inevitably their parasympathetic nervous system start gurgling. The whole body starts gurgling and making these sounds, and they're going, "What is that?
What's going on? It's a relief.
What's happening?" I
Relief.
go, "It's good. It's a good thing that, you know, because it's talking, it's coming online."
Yes. I didn't know I was hungry. My stomach is gurgling.
No, it's not.
I tell people, and it's not that pretty, is that it's like musical Drano, you know, you've had a clog there. And what's happening is that's going on is the sound and music are acting as Drano. They're opening up your pipes, and there's all kinds of things going on, and it's all good because when it's moving, it's good. You know, when it's stagnant is when we have the challenges. So.
Yes. It's like, and I love it that you're speaking about having people to be the instrument that allows this energetic to move through, and we can just orchestrate the sounds that are coming through and allow for healing. You know, we all know that a great song is great, but singing along is something everybody loves to do if they let themselves sing along. And the reason for that is that they're opening this system and allowing our true magnificence to reverberate out here in this world as we came here to do. We came here to reveal our song, to reveal the symphony in the way that it can be filtered through this system that we are. And as we let that happen, the whole world is served, because the vibrational frequency that is activated in these moments that we're talking about, starting to move energy that was stuck and stagnant, as it starts to move, what happens is it activates the fine detail, the highest frequency energies that we all have in common, the invisible, the highest, the light portion version of us that is what we're truly made of. And the closer and closer we can get to that high frequency energy, the more we can commune with someone on the other side of the planet. You know, I just recently saw some of the songs that have been released, you know, Don't Worry, Be Happy. And they have videos of people all over the world, you know, singing the same song and dancing, and how it activates interculturally, you know, everyone. And it's this breath and the sound vibration that the breath makes when it moves through our instrument that is so valuable for us to awaken as. We are the breath. When we leave the body, the breath leaves the body. We are in the body. We are spirit in the body as breath. And so that all the ways that each of you are describing that it gets to reveal is medicine. It's medicine to the tribe. It's medicine to the planet. So if we sing, if we hum, if we allow our voice to just come out, if we allow ourselves to utter words that we've been suppressing, you know, I find it so phenomenally amazing to me that as an empath, Matt, I was similar to you, raised, you know, in a world where my father was a tremendous, a tremendously brilliant scientist that was developing all kinds of healing techniques. And so, you know, it was his world. And so I was kind of back in the background, and yet I was an empath, and I could sense and see and feel that there was even more to it for each individual to awaken to their own empowerment. And my sensitivities, I could see energy fields as a kid, and I shut it down because when I talked about it, you know, it didn't make sense to people, and it created a lot of pain. And I am constantly amazed about how much the most deeply stored, internally buried realities and truths that I let come out and reveal, the more the planet is starving for that kind of information. We as a culture are so suppressed, and I am so amazed that the more I share about my own deep, intimate, true self, the more healing it is for thousands of people. And all I'm doing is just sharing what I've always known to be true. And as each of us are doing this, we're singing a song of authenticity. We're revealing that which is needed the most at these times. And at the same time we heal, the planet heals, because we're emitting a vibration that is the true foundational essence of who we all are. you guys are creating such a beautiful experience for people just by sharing your ditties here. All of our ditties coming together. It sounds pretty sweet to my ears.
And I love what you're saying about empaths and about the melody of authenticity. I actually had that word authenticity drop in about 30 seconds ago, and obviously it was you caught it in the field. What I have noticed in my career with working with many and in my own personal life is that the universal harmonics that we're all tapping into, that evolves our consciousness, and that we all become channels of universal harmonics, whether through the melodies that we're channeling through our voices, through the authenticity of our words, or just a currents that we're transmitting as healers through our hands or through our very presence. I channel healing energy through the sound of my voice. What I found is that there would be currents of energy and sounds that I would entrain with and align with. And that would be a healing experience. It would create these very expanded states. And then the opposite, what I would need to take time to let all of that integrate. And so then I would discover, and what the majority of my spiritual path has been naturally dedicated to, was the integration of those energies, which I found through, and I'm just going to make up a phrase, the melody of silence. Mm-hmm. That there is a silence within us that is making itself known through the enticing and seductive inner calling of sound, and that all sound is drawing us inward into the source of that sound, which is a spacious silence beingness, where in that silence there is also such a deafening silence. There is such a profound availability of silence that in and of itself is like a deafening melody that I've discovered. And so as we are using universal harmonics to heal and to align, to expand and awaken individually and collectively, there also is the equal melody that we find in silence, almost as if silence is the melody of true integration to create that embodied transmission that the world is seeking at this time.
Beautiful.
That's so beautiful, because we say also in music that the actual melody and the music itself, the power of the music, is made in the silences.
Yes.
It's the rests in music that carry the power of music. And all this work that's been going on inside me, I'm finding more and more now the ability to sit in that place you're describing, to sit in that place of solitude, but I'm not alone, to sit in that place of silence, and there's no fear in there. I hear, well, maybe we say it, I hear the melody of the universe. I hear the song of the universe, the sounds. And yes, it's silence, but it feels so good and so nourishing.
It's the space in between the particles. Science references that we are awakening to greater and greater degrees the deep space between the particles, where we thought there was nothing. There is something, and that something is presence. It is us. It's where we reside. So what we're describing right now is our true seat in creation as the creator. We're sitting in the seat as creatorship, which we can hear and perceive in the silence, the potentiality. We are bringing that nothingness into the somethingness and creating our lives. We're creating the manifest world through sound vibration. That's how it happens, because just outside of sound vibration is just pure light. It's just pure presence. So we're sitting in that threshold that we're describing when we're describing these experiences of this melody of the silence, this inner realm where there is nothing. That's the truth of who we are. And when we can tap that and allow that to be good, then we're sitting in the true seat that we were designed to be sitting in. Prior to that, we're almost there. We're feeling like something's about ready to happen in our lives. We're feeling like we're about to experience a breakthrough, but it's only because we're still in the activity. And so when we drop into this place that you guys are describing, we're seated where true creativity births, where original thought births, where healing and wholeness already exist, because it is the pure presence of the unmanifest, the absolute. And what a beautiful conversation to find ourselves in, and a beautiful way to celebrate the sounds of life itself. This is what matters most, and what a beautiful, beautiful connection and conversation. How so glorious. So in this moment, I would like to just have everyone take a deep breath again and drink in this silent melody that is pure potentiality. And just imagine, if all of this is true, then what will create through me? And as we exhale down through the body and into the earth, this cosmic breath that's coming down through your own system, and exhale into the earth, and envision yourself feeling the vibration of wholeness. May all of the viewers just take this breath together. Let's take a breath again. And just exhale, right into the earth, beneath where you sit. In the spirit of a vibrational frequency that is your signature, even if your mind doesn't know who the wholeness of your being is, what does it feel like in this moment to be activated in such a pure potential way, in such a purely divine way? As we are entering into an amazing time of the year. We are entering into the holy days, where every culture has celebrated the same thing, light, at this time. And when we embody light, a sound vibration emits. And as we allow that sound vibration to emit from us through the deep beauty of our breath, we experience our wholeness. Let's take a deep breath in again and just exhale. And as we gently open our eyes, allow our wholeness to come out into the world. Allow that. For at this time, the holy days are upon us. We're entering into the holidays where every indigenous culture has celebrated light, and they celebrate it through sound vibration. Whether it's Diwali or Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or any of the other cultures that are indigenous to our planet. We are coming into a time where the planets have aligned, the stars are aligning, where light falls upon us in a particular way that activates us on the deep cellular level that we've been speaking about today naturally. It's in divine support of our own awakening, our healing, the awakening of our own higher consciousness, our Buddhic consciousness, our Christed consciousness. That is what this time is. And this beautiful celebration of sacred sound, the science of it, the art of it, the experience of it, that's what this whole series has been about. It's been about waking up to the truth of who we are. And so may we all allow these holy days to be a great celebration of the vibrational frequencies that we are here, singularly and collectively united on this planet. And may we do that this time more than we've ever done it before, because our culture is ready for a birthing. We are ready for a stewardship that is divine, that is whole, that is complete, and that is.
Oh.
And she ascended.
Wow.
That's how you enter the fifth dimension. You testify from spirit.
You are hysterical. What
and
happened?
Then you just go to the fifth dimension. The people want to know how it works. The Celestine prophecy was real. You should rent the movie. This is how it happens. This is actually
When she
very
was
confirming.
talking, I kept hearing a piece of a meditation. We just did a CD together called The Holy Days, and it's all crystal balls. It's activating the whole chakra system, the pineal gland, and we created an Alleluia, and it's a meditation that she speaks over. I do vocals of Alleluia, and she says, the bowls start and she says, glorious sounds of the inner realm.
Mm.
And I just kept feeling what Barry was talking about, what you were talking about, Matt, that
Love it.
magnificence of who we are. Oh, Dr.
Sue just channeled herself into the Pleiadians, back to the Pleiades, and
He's once, twice, three times Pleiades is what you're saying.
So that
that's
means
exactly.
that means that the three of us get to complete this incredible series and interview. Matt, Barry, what's bubbling in you?
What's bubbling, Barry?
Well, I had something with authenticity as well. And for people to, when you're stepping into that authenticity, it doesn't always necessarily resonate with those people around you because they're not used to you being authentic and tapping into that energy. Mm. So when you're coming into that space and you're sharing your authentic truth, you might have a little bit of resistance, but know that you're going to break through it. And so many people who have something to share have gone through that same crisis of the soul. I will tell you that Alanis Morissette was turned down by dozens of record labels. It was not really heard of, that much angst and authenticity in music by a woman at that time. And the label that finally signed her was Madonna's label. And it sold 23 million records, I believe, in the first year because she was tapping into something that she knew inherently that needed to be voiced in our society, and that gave permission for other women to do the same. So don't be discouraged if you're stepping into your authenticity and your new vibration, and just know that you have people around you who will support it, and your soul family and spirit community are around you. You just have to find them. So when you're tapping into those space between the notes, just continue to do it and birth it through. And we are here for you, all of us. So.
And I love what you're saying about that, about when you step into your authenticity, how sometimes people in your life aren't going to resonate with you being in your power, especially because a lot of people get triggered seeing people in their power when they themselves hold a subconscious belief of how painful it is for people from their past in their power, or it's unsafe for them to be in their power. One thing I've discovered, which I think is very interesting. So if we think of words as like sounds, mm-hmm. So the melody of disapproval, right? Mm-hmm. From other people not wanting you to be in your power, or if you step into your power, Barry, that's going to rock my world because of how I define you. What's interesting is that there are a lot of human beings, empaths, as Dr. Sue was mentioning earlier, who are very sensitive to energies. And so when other people are disapproving of an empath stepping into their power, it can be a very disempowering experience, and a lot of people can pull back and shut down, simply because a lot of times in the subconscious mind, there's a belief of, I can be better liked by others if I'm more like others.
Right.
And so we have that thing kind of that plays out from childhood that we always kind of revert back to. What I find interesting is that, yes, there are experiences of when people shut down or lash out towards us, and we have a certain lack of resonance for being treated in a way that isn't heart-centered. But what's interesting is that any sound people make that can throw us off center is equal to the unconscious relationship that we ourselves have with silence. And that if we spend time as just a daily simple practice of a few minutes in silence, and silence doesn't mean that you're trying to make your mind silent versus noisy. Silence is, I, the observer, am going to be silent no matter how noisy my mind is or how congested my body feels. So silence isn't trying to make ourselves silent, but being the silent witness and observer of all we think, hear, and feel. And when we take a few minutes to be the silent observer, we are actually deepening our intimate relationship with the sound and melody of silence. And what I find to be interesting is that when we have a very intimate relationship with silence, we're able to clearly see, even as empaths, that other people's responses is reflective of their healing experience and not necessarily information for us to internalize.
Mm. Beautiful.
Mm.
And Dr. Sue, we thought you ascended.
I was gone. I'm back. We had a power thing. It's, I don't know. I'm glad that you were still here when I came back. It's always comforting.
We just said ditto to what you said.
Oh yeah, ditto.
Great. You only said nice things, right, while I was gone?
Well, yeah, Dylan's been also very active in this series, and in the conversation with Barry, the lights started flickering, and then when I got up at the end of the interview, the light switch was off.
Yeah. Well, we just have to be ready for everything that happens when we're working in these realms, right? It's not predictable. It's just love and light and showing up in so many ways. This has just been amazing. You know what I was thinking while I was trying to figure out how to get all this technology working up again? I was like, we should just get all together in a room where we don't have to worry about the technology. So I think we should just get together in a live event and bring all these people together and continue this conversation and see where that would take us someday. Would you guys be up for that?
Count me in, yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's actually in planning. That's in planning for fall next year.
And what I think is interesting, because so many of us, Geraldine, talk about your son affecting the electricity. I know, Barry, you have probably experienced technological glitches. My energy affects electrical everything. I'm sure Dr. Sue, so do you experience this on a regular basis? I think one of the most fascinating things that we learn as we become more energetically sensitive beings and really activated and consciously embodied energetically sensitive beings, prior to our awakening, we are bombarded with EMFs. We are bombarded by the frequency of technology. But as we wake up, our consciousness actually becomes a more reliable technology than the technology that seems to run our society these days. And I think one of the, and it's like this Return of the Jedi situation where instead of being bombarded by EMFs, now my vibration is going to melt the battery in my iPhone. And it really shows us that the glitches that we create with technology is because our consciousness and the electrical circuitry of our own awake awareness is the most reliable technology we have access to. Yeah. And so when we start to rely on our inner knowing as the original Siri, we really start to really tap into the most reliable energy, the most reliable information, the most reliable, source within us. And I think that's really the point. So whenever we have these technological glitches, I always take it as the universe winking and saying, look how powerful we all are. And for everyone that's watching this, we're all really truly stepping into our power to become this powerful light and form.
Yeah, so fun. We are the energy that created the technology. When we wake up as that, then it starts to rearrange the rules that the technology is playing by. And so that's why we oftentimes, the third time they had to replace the motherboards of the computers in the front desk of the healing center that I have, the clinic. We used to hold meditation classes in the reception room years ago. And the third month in a row, the next morning, the computers would be blown. So they told me, Dr. Sue, you have to take your classes elsewhere because our computers can't handle you guys revving up the juice this way. I recognize that there's the master system. That's what we're awakening to as. We are the system that builds the body. We build the brain. We build the heart. We are that presence that is the creative source itself. And as we're awakening as that, this equipment has to constantly update to house the the wattage that we're running through it. So what a delight. How fun.
It's amazing. Well, this has been such a incredible opportunity. I'm so thankful, Geraldine, that you asked me to be a part of this series, to be a part of this call. It's always fun to connect with you, Dr. Sue and Barry, and all the people that are on this call. And I would love to continue this for the benefit and the healing of those that are ready to awaken, who are ready to say, yes, I'm ready to embody this power. And I just want to thank you all for for engaging in such a healing and heart-centered conversation today.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Barry, for your wonderful contributions and your great gift and delight of song and music that you bring to the world as well. And thank you, Geraldine, for having me plug in a little and help to host a conversation. And thank you, Geraldine, so very much for the impetus of having this series and bringing everyone together from around the world that has come together because of your heart singing a song that your mind was able to catch, listen, cultivate, and say, let's do it. And so, Geraldine, let's turn it over to you to bring your final words of wisdom as the originator of this whole idea.
I'd love to close again with this emerald bowl, with this bowl of the heart, and really first express great gratitude for everything, for all that is, for this life, for all the speakers that said yes, for all of you for showing up today, and love. Love.
Love it is.
Love.
Yes.
May you be at peace. May your hearts remain open, and may you awaken to the true nature of your authentic self. Thank you all for joining us. Many, many blessings and much love always.
Blessings. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Many blessings.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was great.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. How fun.
There's such a sense of, with all our gifts, where it can go, how it can touch. Thank
That's
you.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Matters
You're
most.
following your heart.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sue, for leading us.
Oh, well, it's a delight, a great pleasure, great joy, you guys.
That's an
So,
honor.
You guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving as
Yeah.
you
well.
too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And let's,
I look forward to this event. We're going to do this, right? Next fall.
Totally.
Yeah, excellent.
Let's
Yep.
do it.
Excellent.
Geraldine, with the help of this little guy, is gonna let it unpack. So, and we got to write that song about, what was it, pastrami and pizza?
Yeah.
Okay.
And before we get together and do this event, Thanksgiving, let's go eat our feelings.
Let's do it.
Just kidding.
All right.
I'm just kidding. I wish you guys a great Thanksgiving. It's an honor to connect with all of you. Dr. Sue, pleasure to meet you. I'm sure I'll be talking to you sometime soon. And
Yeah, let's do that.
yeah, let's connect. And Barry,
Yeah,
let's keep
I'd
in
love
contact. Yeah, so
I'd
let's
love
connect.
to.
Dr. Sue and Barry, let's keep in contact. And Geraldine, you have my number. And, let's keep in contact.
Let's do it. I would love that.
All right,
Beautiful.
guys. All right, love you guys.
Great. Fantastic. Blessings.
Blessings.
Blessings.